Hey everybody, this is Grayson here from Proceed to Checkpoint, and welcome back to another episode of Homebrew Hearthstone. Last time we took a look at my standard Shaman deck, which was kind of run-of-the-mill Shaman stuff. However, this week we're going to be looking at a Mage deck, and this Mage deck revolves around using secrets to buff the Ethereal Arcanist, but it's also about kind of keeping yourself alive until you're able to play that, and to be able to play a secret properly in order to make this work. So we're going to jump in, we're going to take a look, I'm going to show you some gameplay of it, and we're going to go down through the deck list. Okay, so here we are. This is the Secret Arcanist deck that I've built. There's some fairly run-of-the-mill stuff in here for mages, but there's also some other stuff that's quite unique, I suppose. Let's start at the top, let's start with the 1 mana stuff. So up at 1 mana we have 2 mana worms. As I said, very, very standard stuff for a mage deck. 1 mana, 1 drop. Whenever you cast a spell, gain +1 attack. Very good for using up some of your opponent's early removal. Because unless you take care of this, the fact that it has 3 health, it means they can get very big fairly quickly. Especially when you're playing as a mage. And especially when you have spells like Mirror Image in your deck. So Mirror Image is 1 mana, summon 2 O2 minions with Taunt. Nice for staying alive until you can kind of get that Arcanist down with a secret. And again, it buffs the Mana Worm very nicely. Nice synergy there. Then we have Frostbolts. Frostbolts, standard for mages. 2 mana, 3 damage to a character and freeze it. Normally the freeze effect won't really come into effect. Although if it does, chances are you're going to be using your hero power to ping a minion on your next turn and use 2 mana that way. But yeah, it's good for like keeping any kind of big threats in control. Next we have Sorcerer's Apprentice. Very useful for mages because, you know, mages are obviously heavily themed around using spells and the like, and this card makes your spells cost 1 less. So, you know, that Mirror Image there, you get that for free. You get it for free. It's so good. It's important though that this also works for secrets as well, because they count as spells. And speaking of secrets, at 3 mana we have Effigy here. When a friendly minion dies, summon a random minion with the same cost. Very useful. It's not one that people tend to play around very much, and it's not one that you really can play around at all, really. Because when your minion dies after a spell being played by your opponent, or your opponent running a minion into it, you immediately get another minion that costs the same. Now when it comes to like minions like the Mana Worm, you know, it's not going to be incredibly good value, but when it comes down to, you know, like minions like Animated Armor or Ethereal Arcanist later on in the game, it can be pretty useful. Next we have a single Ice Block. When your hero takes fatal damage, prevent it and become immune this turn. So one thing that I like to do with this deck is to play the Ice Block very early, so that if I'm able to, I can then play my Ethereal Arcanist, and I know that secret is going to remain in play until I get down to 1 health or whatever, right? So it's quite important that you have Ice Block or a secret of some variety that won't get procced immediately in place around turn 3 or so. To help that, we have 2 Kirin Mage. So the Kirin Mage, it has a battle cry that the next secret you play this turn costs 0. So if you can get this down on turn 3 and you have a secret in your hand, quite importantly for it to be Ice Block. It doesn't have to be, but it would be nice for it to be Ice Block. Throw down Ice Block as well on the same turn. You got a minion on the board with a decent body, a 4/3 for 3, and you have a secret in play as well. Pretty sweet. It's nice. It's a nice setup play. Next we have Polymorph Boar, which is quite good for removal, or for turning a threat into something that isn't as big or threatening. So it's quite useful. Only 1 in here though. Next we have another secret. We have Spellbender. When an enemy casts a spell on a minion, summon a 1/3 as a new target. And this can be quite useful for, you know, even just gaining some board presence, because not all spells that are played that, you know, are to kind of remove minions will deal 3 damage. So it can be quite useful to have that in place, and getting another minion on the board. Even though it's just a 1 attack token, it can still be quite useful and it can still be buffed up and used quite scarily. Next we have a Vaporize, which I love. I love Vaporize so much. It's a secret. When a minion attacks your hero, destroy it. Really good card. I kind of tend to keep that for the late game, so that if there's anything big that's going to attack my face while I'm trying to kind of build my own board, it gets wiped out pretty much immediately. At 4 mana, we have an animated armor. 2 animated armors, in fact. And this card prevents your hero from taking more than 1 damage at a time. So it's 4/4. It's not particularly good late game because it'll be taken out quite easily, but it's quite good in the early to or the mid game to kind of keep your hero under control, or to keep your hero up. So this combined with Ice Block and Ice Barrier and the like, even though there isn't an Ice Barrier in here, it'll keep your hero alive. It'll keep your hero from dying before you're able to play your Kirantor Mages, your Ethereal Arcanists, and your Secrets as kind of like your main combo. Next up we have the big key, the linchpin in this deck. We have the Ethereal Arcanist. It's a 4 mana 3/3, and if you control a secret at the end of your turn, gain +2/+2. So this card is immediately, if everything's gone according to plan up to this point, this card is immediately a 5/5. Which is very, very useful. Next we have 2 Fireballs. Deals a straight 6 damage to something. Very good, very, very useful. Not much to say about that, it's good value. Then we have a Polymorph, transform a minion into a 1/1 sheep. Again, hold on to this until the late game because it's very, very useful. For kind of like keeping your hero alive, for board clears and the like. At 5 mana, we have 2 Servants of Yogg-Saron, which I found to be very interesting cards, and more often than not very useful cards. So it's a 5/4, so it's an intimidating enough minion, and has a battle cry, cast a random spell that costs 5 or less. And the targets are chosen randomly, which is very, very important for this particular card. So I like to kind of just throw this down as to kind of act as a deterrent for my opponent. Or even if they've got a board and I don't, throw this down, see what spell comes out of it. It could be something very, very good, very useful. It could be an Arcane Explosion or something like that. And against a rush deck, that would be particularly useful. Next, we have a Coldara Drake. Again, it's a kind of a big minion to kind of act as a target to soak up a ton of like spells and the like that my opponent might be using to kind of gain board control. And this will allow me to use my hero power any number of times. So if I have 10 mana, I can use my hero power 5 times. It's pretty useful, but I use it more for an intimidation factor than anything else. Similarly, I use the Faceless Summer to kind of intimidate. Has a Battle Cry. It's a 5/5 for 6. Battle Cry, summon a random 3-cost minions, so you get 2 minions for the price of 1, and it's very, very useful. It's so good. It like allows you to build a board very kind of quickly, and it's a decent board at that for 6 mana. So that's why I've got 2 of them in place. At 8 mana, I have Anomalous, which has a Death Rattle, deal 8 damage to all minions. Again, good for a late game board clear, very useful, while also being an intimidating minion itself. And finally, also at 8 mana, we have Ronan, which adds 3 copies of Arcane Missiles to your hand. And if you can get your Sorcerer's Apprentice out with this, you can play all 3 Arcane Missiles for free, which is sweet! So Arcane Missiles is 1 mana, deal 3 damage randomly across the board. And sometimes if, this can be the winner of your game. Like, I know it's just 3 mana, and it's 3 damage, but it's 3 damage that if they have nothing on the board is going directly into face. And if you can do that 3 times for free, that's even better. And, you've just done something with your 7/7. You've potentially used a 7/7 minion to soak up an awful lot of offensive damage from your opponent as well. So that's also very useful. And that's the full deck list, guys. That's the deck. So if you ever try this deck, if you feel free to do so, and link me, if you make a video of it, link me the video on Twitter at ProceedYouTube, link it in the comments of this video, and we will take a look at that and check it out, and give you a shout out as a result. So thanks a ton for watching, guys. If you want to see more of this, feel free to hit the like button, leave a comment into the comment section below, and that'll enter you into the draw for this week as well for a free game. And yeah, if you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. Thanks a ton for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.